Well, good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH286, Patricia and David. I was just watching the dawn. We're actually getting lighter in the mornings now. It has been up till sort of today, really, that we haven't been able to see anything. But I can now tell you that it's about 30% cloud, which will probably change in about 5 minutes because we've got on and off showers. 14 degrees it is here, Nina 7.7. Actually, it's up to 9 at 9 at 8. It is rising. This was taken about an hour ago. 11 knots from the southwest. So not a very wonderful day here, but it does look like it's very peaceful. I was just reading the email from Mezzaluna, his report on Cruisersat.net. They're boated all the way from Fulanga to Suva, not quite there yet. But it was interesting. On the way, he caught a mahi-mahi, and as he was pulling it aboard, he saw another fin under the boat by the rudder. As you probably know, mahis mate for life, and usually we always used to drag two lures, and it wasn't unusual to get both of them on the hook at the same time, or two separate hooks. But anyway, the other mahi-mahi was following its mate in, and so once one mahi-mahi got on board, he dropped it in for the next one, and actually it got hooked but thrashed away and took off. So it's always sad, I think, to split up a family like that. One day we were just drifting. We'd been in, where were we? Riva Bay, that's right, Riva Bay in south of Tahiti. And we were almost out of fuel. We'd come from Mexico. So we were just drifting sort of about 2 days out of Tahiti. And for amusement, we were running up and down the boat with a lure because the boat was pretty static. And you could, the water was absolutely beautifully calm and clear. And the fish were actually sheltering in our shade. And there was a family of mahi-mahi. There was the bull and the wife, and then there was a sort of a middle-sized one and two smaller ones. And David was trying to catch one, and I was trying to say, leave the family alone. But we didn't catch one. They were just, I think, highly amused that here was somebody silly enough to run up and down the boat with a lure. But yes, they do mate for life, and it is kind of sad to bring one in, although it didn't sound too sad. He was quite happy about the fact that the freezer was going to be full of mahi-mahi to share in Suva. All right, good morning, everybody. There is not a great deal of things happening here, so I wonder what is happening out there with you. Vellic, beautiful day at Taveuni, southeast 1 to 3 knots, 50% cloud cover, flat seas 1012. I imagine that those that left for the Bay of Islands have had a fairly mellow trip, so that's all good. Is there anybody else with a report? Please call now. I'm not hearing anything, but I've just checked the propagation, and it's not very good. We're sort of on the cusp here of propagation, so if you have called in, things will be changing between now and the end of the net, so whether it gets better or worse will remain to be seen. But hopefully with our extra power here, you can hear a bit of news. Not that there is a great deal going on in the world at the moment. I guess it's because it's midsummer sort of in Europe and everyone tries to fit in holidays. But President Trump, of course, is in a bit of strife with the 4 congresswomen of colour, who he told to go back to their countries and fix them. He insists that he's not a racist. But anyway, that's sort of the to-do-ment with President Trump at the moment, so that's getting a fair bit of press. In the EU, they're, of course, changing heads. Ursula von der Leyen of Germany has been elected formally as the EU Chair Commission head. It was evidently a fairly narrow win, but you wouldn't know because it was all done in secret. She replaces Jean-Claude Juncker as the number 1 person there. The Commission is actually quite important because it drafts EU laws enforces EU rules, and it actually has the power to impose fines on member states if necessary. I imagine she'll be quite busy with Brexit coming up, depending on what happens with the Brits, whether they decide to walk away or whether they try and get a deal to see how much money they have to contribute. Anyway,
contribute zero.
Contribute zero, says David. Yeah. And of course, Christine Lagarde she is stepping down from her current position. She's been there a while as managing director of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and she will presumably take over. I don't think there's too many other people in the running as head of the European Central Bank. So the place is going to be run by women over there. That should actually improve things, I would imagine. Now all we need is a woman in America, and we might get some stability in the world. All right. Before David has a comment on that one. In Mumbai, India, a four-story building collapsed with about 10 dead and an awful lot of mayhem. What else is there? Oh, there was a very interesting, and it's not finished yet, in Britain, in London, in fact, a team of about 20 skilled people are operating to separate two Pakistani girls who are joined at the head. So if you could imagine one on top of the other, they're actually fused at the head. That's the way they were born 18 months ago. And they are going through the process of separating them, which is an incredible process. They believe it's going to be successful, but of course at the moment they're just chopping arteries and veins and so on to get that sorted out. There's a few problems doing that because it puts pressure on the one that's feeding the other. But anyway, then they have to sort of reshape the brain a bit, but there's plenty of brain there evidently to go around. They're a couple of gorgeous looking girls. So anyway, that's and what was interesting, they came from Pakistan, and the guy that's one of the two important people operating is actually from a village not too far from where they came from. He's in London now, of course, as a specialist brain surgeon. Okay, this is of interest to us as to what might happen in the future. In May, a 12-metre vessel made the trip from the UK to Belgium with no sailors on board. It was the world's first unmanned commercial shipping operation, as it delivered some oysters from the UK, from Essex, I believe, to Belgium, and it was met by the customs officers. They maintain that there will be self-navigating ships by 2025. To me, that's a bit horrifying. They're going to be controlled by satellite links, and they will warn people on their AIS that they're there, but I'm not sure that they would know that a sailboat is in the road and doesn't have an engine or whatever the case may be. But that's for the future, not all that far away, 2025. I don't think we'll be around to see it, fortunately. All right, in the UK, they are discussing the age limit for those who can buy tickets in the National Lottery. I didn't realise that you couldn't, as a youngster, you couldn't buy tickets in the National Lottery over there. I haven't actually looked up what we can do here, but I don't think there's any restrictions on who can buy what in New Zealand. There may be, I'll have to look it up. Anyway, they want to raise it to the age of 18. In Australia, there's a bit of strife at Uluru, or however it's pronounced. It used to be Ayers Rock. The Aborigines have all managed to get it as a recognised sacred site, and as of October 1st, no one will be able to climb it. But unfortunately, between now and then, it's attracted a vast number of tourists, and there's just a steady line that goes up Uluru of tourists, which is upsetting everyone. They're all camping at the bottom and creating a bit of a mess, so not too happy. The Aborigines are not very happy at all over there. In the Middle East, of course, tensions are still very high over the Iranians with their enrichment process. They were meant to only enrich uranium to 3.6%, which was set by the deal that was made. but they are now going to 4.5%, and they were only meant to do 300 kilograms, and they have exceeded that. So things are not very happy. Those most unhappy, of course, are Israel and the United States. The Europeans think it's really no big deal, which of course is upsetting those that do think it's a big deal. And the UK are trying to mediate, so there's still a lot of concern over why on earth they're doing that. They say it's for non-military use, which of course is a load of nonsense because they've got plenty of natural gas and oil reserves and so on. But they're, the sanctions that have been put on are certainly hurting Iran, and they will probably, well, if they weren't so stupid about it, they could actually end everything by agreeing to do what they said that they would do. But anyway, that's what's happening in Iran, and that's sort of ticking on. Pirates on the coast of Nigeria. Now, we always think of the pirate situation as being the one over in Somalia, but that's not the worst area in the world. The worst area is the Gulf of Guinea, which is in fact the worst area for piracy in the world. 73% of all sea kidnappings and 92% of hostage taking actually happens off that coast, which has got all sorts of weird countries: Nigeria, Cameroon, others, can't remember their names. Not a place that I really want to go to, and neither should you. They have kidnapped 10 Turkish sailors. 8 managed to escape, but evidently the Nigerians, who have actually got some quite decent patrol vessels, they are increasing the number of their patrols so that it might be reduced. But boy, it's a very dangerous area. Not one to put on your must-visit list.
I thought they were too busy with scams, computer scams.
Yeah, I would have thought. No, well, obviously the people that are responsible for the computer scams are not doing too well, and had to resort to other things. Evidently, capturing people is a lot more productive than capturing whatever it is they have on the ships, because people tend to place more value on other people and not on what presumably might be insured. But the big news of the day, of course, is that 50 years ago, and I don't know how many of you out there will remember where you were 50 years ago, but 50 years ago, the Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins took off to the moon. And in fact, Michael Collins, who is now 88, visited the Kennedy Space Center yesterday to have a look at where he left from and how things have changed now. It took them 4 days to get there, and then, of course, those famous words, "That's one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind," were uttered by Neil Armstrong on the moon.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you were, David?
Yeah, I'm not sure I remember where it was. Well, I'll tell you what, though, I bet half the cruisers out there aren't even 50 years old.
No, probably most of you wouldn't have a clue what we're talking about. I remember where I was. I was in the Easterfield building at the University of Victoria in a chemistry lab, and we had the really scratchy radio on, and we were all listening to that. So it's a bit like President Kennedy's assassination. You always remember where you were, if you were alive at the time. So that's about it for the news from me, just streaming through the streaming here. QRM from the Asians, thank you, Diego. Well, they are coming in here. Well, they're in Suva now, so that's good. No winds, clear skies. It's very beautiful in Fiji by the look of it. Port Vila, thank you, David. On Lisham, 60% cloud cover, 1012.6. Winds are calm, and where are we? Muscat Cove on the other side. Thank you, John. 10% cloud, showers last night, 8 to 10 knots from the south. All right, and David is, he always starts digging me, but in actual fact I've got 1 minute to go, so if your clock was correct, you wouldn't be digging me.
My computer clock says 7:30.
Well, 7:30 it is now on my computer clock too, so here's David.
We're talking about age. 50 years ago, yeah. The announcer on the cricket game the other night was talking to some young kids, and they were
That's right.
yeah, they were talking about music, remember? And the interviewer was talking to these kids and asked them what they thought, some of the older music, what they thought about the Beatles. And the kids had no idea who the Beatles were. They never heard of the Beatles. Oh boy, there it goes. Okay, well, good morning. Fairly similar synoptic picture today as yesterday, 3 days in a row, really almost all the same. The big fat high, the old GFH, that sits nearly stationary. It's out there about 150 west. Central pressure, 1036 millibars, still very, very strong. And it's ridging like it was yesterday, northwest toward Tonga. The Australian high, the other high that's a player in this triumvirate we have here, that hasn't moved much either. It's ridging northeast, and it's bumping into the other high, the eastern ridge of the other high, at around 175 west. Now, the very broad active trough lies over New Zealand. That's between these two highs. That's the third player. And numerous fronts traverse New Zealand. One was over at Gulf Harbor Radio this morning. Not done with us yet, I think. Then there's a weak ridge is going to appear for a brief hello, and it is going to be replaced by another front, and that's coming in on Friday. And, well, our weekend looks a bit grim as well, as another low crosses the North Island, and Mother Nature isn't done. Not done with that. A secondary depression is going to form just off of north of North Cape, late Saturday. So the departing yachts that are sitting around here just need to be a little bit more patient and let this mess clear out. Now, those troughs that are pushing north from this mess include one that passes by Raoul Island, and it goes on to eastern Tonga, just to the east of Tonga, and Niue. Then it continues on east of Samoa, and then finally to the northern Cooks. And New Zealand's main cold front, the one that went through yesterday, it was a humdinger, that is passing east of Norfolk Island, and it's pushing right toward New Caledonia, but it doesn't quite reach. In the tropics, a little bit further north then, another trough lies over Tuvalu. And really, the rest of the tropics are quite unstable. If you were to look at satellite imagery, you would see numerous cloud clusters virtually everywhere up there. So quite unstable there. Over there in Wallis, that shows cloud this morning, mostly from the Tuvalu Trough. Looks like rain later today there, into tonight and into tomorrow as well. Winds today, easterlies, probably about 10 to 15. Actual conditions, a little town there called Haifa, and they had easterly winds at 11 knots, gusting up to 18. So a little bit of breeze there in the northern part of Wallis. Tomorrow's wind should be east-southeast around 10. Friday, a shift to the northeast, and they'll be in the 10-knot range too. Now, the winds will be higher if you've got some rain activity. You all know that. Down to Tonga now, where the New Zealand trough, as I said, lies just to the east of the group. Cloud does remain over quite a bit of the group. Bands are moving very quickly. They're here, they're gone. So today, mostly fair for a change. Well, Tonga, has been the winner, at least as far as I'm concerned, in the number of troughs contest. However, there still may be some isolated showers today, so maybe it's not all done yet. All the marine coastal wind warnings that we've had from Tonga Met have been dropped. For Vavau, then, you could expect east to northeast winds about 10 to 15, shifting to the southeast later on in the day. A little bit further south applies Tongatapu. In other words, you could expect west to southwest winds about 10 to 15. They're going to shift southeast later today as well. And on Thursday, we should see south to southeast, 10 to 15, virtually everywhere. Seas about 1.5 meters, and a southwest swell, 1.5 to 2 meters. And a few actuals this morning. Vavau, northeast 6, scattered to broken there, barometer 1012. The Hapais, calm, scattered cloud, barometer 1010. And extremely humid in the Hapais, very humid. Tongatapu is calm, scattered to broken, barometer 1011. Get this, temperature 18°C, quite cool. Dew point 18°C. Well, you need an umbrella for that thick humidity, that's for sure. And it's foggy there. When you've got the dew point sitting right on top of the temperature, you're either getting rain or you're getting fog if there's no wind. Now, a lot of people are quite surprised about fog in the tropics, but it's actually quite common. And you can see how that would be the minute that the dew point gets up there. That's typically what's going to happen. Now, over to Fiji, where imagery shows a mix of cloud and fair skies. Expect the usual brief showers over the Big Islands. That's almost a constant. But elsewhere, mainly fine from what we could see. There is cloud about. You can see it on imagery. Quite cool at night. Must be some pleasant sleeping up there, I would guess. And tomorrow conditions should be about the same. I think Friday we're back to some troughing. And that will be actually more intense on Saturday. My wind forecast by lunch today, the Lau south to south-southeast about 10 to 15. West of the Lau, virtually everywhere else west of the Lau, south to southwest in the 10 knot range. And by dinner, all areas for Fiji should see southeast winds about 10 to 15. Tomorrow, east-southeast to southeast, again around 15 knots, and possibly 20 knots around Kundavou and southwest Viti Levu, especially the passage in there. Now we can see wind convergence Saturday. Give you an example of this. The Lau should have east to east-northeast, and then from the Taveuni area all the way over to the Osawas and everything in between, maybe north to northeast winds. And then southern Viti Levu, Kundavou, that area looks like southeasterlies. They can be pretty strong, 20 to 25 knots down there. So all of these winds are going to be bumping into one another at some point, and therefore that's going to be producing and supporting the trough. Now the radar loop this morning shows scattered showers, broadly scattered, I should say. No real concentration at all. So not much there, unless you're under one. Finally, a few actuals. Looks like Fiji Met woke up, toggle wore off, whatever. Undew Point, south 10, barometer 1010. Northern Osawas, south-southeast 5, barometer 1011. Vanua Balavu, east 6, barometer 1014. Lunacy, southeast 4, barometer 1010. Matuku, south-southeast 1, barometer 1010. And Ono, there in Kundavou, west 3, barometer 1011. So quite a bit of variation on the breezes. Now on to Vanuatu. Quite a mix of cloud and clear skies. It all depends where you are. The heaviest area of cloud is the southern half of the group. By lunch today, winds mostly southeast in the 10 to 15 knot range. Windier between Efate and Malakula. That stretch of water never seems to be calm. Whenever you're making that passage south from Malakula or anywhere north of Efate and trying to get to Efate, it's usually a tough slog. So anyway, the winds are not all that strong today, but in any case, that body of water, always treat that with some respect. Tomorrow, still southeast around 15, but lighter from Tana to Anishim. So, some actual. Sola was calm this morning, barometer 1011. Santo, west 2, barometer 1011 as well. Fate, northeast 3, barometer 1010. Tana, calm, 1012. And Anishim, southeast 4, barometer 1013. So, quite lucky for Vanuatu. Not much wind, so it's really a good time if you want to move from one place to another and not get beat up. For Newcal, imagery shows really plenty of cloud, actually, all being pushed north as the Oz Ridge is building. Cloud that forms on the perimeter of this ridge, as it goes up, it's hitting this inversion layer that we've got, and it's causing the clouds to spread out. Basically, stratocumulus are developing. So anyhow, today expect southeast winds around 10. Tomorrow, east to east-southeast in the 10-knot range as well. May become variable a little bit later on. Early this morning, actual conditions, the outer reef was reporting south to south-southwest, 10 gusting 19. And Ile-de-Pan reported south 10, and Noumea reporting south to south-southwest, 10 gusting 21. So that's your weather, and I doubt if we'll hear any questions, maybe on streaming, so I'll pass it over to the chief.
Yeah, well, streaming just had a hiccup. We have a report from Lady Nada at sea because they got sick of the weather in Tonga. They're headed off to Savu Savu. They're at 19 and 175.41 west at the moment. Westerly 3, not much wind there, 0% cloud cover, so at least they're going in the right direction, 1010. And at Wallace, thanks Whistler, 10 to 12 knots from the northeast, a bit of rain and stuff overnight, so it was a bit swelly. 0.3 metres of swell currently. 3 boats there now, Whistler, Imagine, and another boat from New Zealand, 1009.1 and about 20% cloud cover. I see David's just checking his book here, and that's about what we've got here. So that's all we've got here. Oh, good morning from the Yasawas. Oh, that's where Eye Candy is. Good morning, Andrew. A good copy of the Yasawas, but boy, we don't get to hear the Yasawas. The Yasawas is a bit like Phalangos. Every now and again, it just sort of is really out there, but not very copyable. They're in the Blue Lagoon, which I believe is very nice. We haven't been there. Okay, is there anybody with anything? And I'll first of all try for Quintessa. Quintessa. Nothing heard from Quintessa. He's in a new spot and maybe not very able to hear us. Hopefully he's at the top of Newcastle somewhere. Anybody else? Oh, I think there is somebody there, but boy, I'm not copying you. Could I have, well, I don't even know who I'm going to be able to copy. Shouldn't be all that bad, but the propagation, as I mentioned before, where it's really strange today. It would be almost impossible to work out a good frequency at the moment. Is there any relay for whoever it was that was talking? Please call. I've got you now, Andrew. Go ahead. Over. Thank you very much. I've got that. 2006 South, he's at anchor now, arrived this morning, 16348 East. Did I get that correct, Andrew? Okay, Alan, is all well, and you will be there, I presume, for a bit. Over. Yep, got that. I sort of got 3/4 of it anyway. So you'll be working slowly around the top and down the east side. Alrighty. Do you know that there's good fuel and stuff available at the top there? Presumably you know more about that area than we do. So it's like teaching grandmothers to suck eggs here. Alright, thanks Alan. I shall pass that on. And haven't heard back from the response that I gave Denise yesterday, but that all got sent away. So I shouldn't imagine there'd be any problems there. Okay, is there anybody else with anything for Gulf Harbour Radio? There is somebody there. iCandy, did you copy that person? Excel. Excel, I know you're in Samoa and you are wanting to go to Wallace. Is that correct? And when are you going to leave? When are you going to leave? Over. Oh, going today, 11 o'clock. All right. So you probably have heard David talk about that area. So you're going from Samoa to Wallace today. I'll just pass the microphone, and he doesn't have anything more, I don't think, but I'll pass the microphone anyway. Hang on, he says. So there are, as you probably heard, 3 boats in Wallace at the moment, and the supply ship is coming in today. So not that you will have any problems having come from Samoa, but the supply ship will be excitement for the Wallace people. Here's David.
Well, wind conditions are perfect for that passage. Easterlies turning southeasterly. Well, right around the Samoa area this later today, it's going to be northeast, but you'll be gone. You'll be past that. So, yeah, you might even have a little bit of a breeze just as you clear the main islands, getting up to about 20 knots very briefly. Then it drops very quickly to about 15 and then down to 10 as you continue east. And looking at tomorrow, as you're heading there, wind is, it varies. I don't want to say variable, but it'll be southeast for a bit, then it'll be east-northeast for a bit, then back to east-southeast, sort of like that, sort of like a roller coaster, but all in the right direction, all in the right direction, and all between 10 to 15.
Okay, sounds good. Very pleasant trip, which is unusual for up that part of the world. Usually when I look at the satellite picture, there's a great red blob over Samoa.
It's going to be some drizzle.
There'll be some drizzle, says David. The blob is actually a little bit to the east and north of Samoa. Yep.
You'll have some rain.
There'll be a bit of rain, but you'll be used to that being in Samoa for a while now. Okay, I think that's probably it. I'll just do a pause in case there's anybody else, seeing as Andrew's ears are pretty good this morning. Kuhela, Kuhela. Yeah, boy, it's not very good where you are. At Anisham there, Josh. You're still looking to go to Tanner. Is that correct? Over. Did you cover that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think David covered that. So are you? Did I hear you say you are leaving today? Over. Oh, Friday he's leaving. Friday he's leaving. Roger that. Okay, and yeah, just to let other people know, early August, I think it's about the 5th of August, there is a Down Under rally from New Caledonia to Anisham. So it would probably be a good place to not be around the bottom part of New Caledonia, of Vanuatu, if you want peace and tranquility. They are leaving, weather permitting, of course, about the 5th of August, going to Anisham, checking into Anisham, and then going up to Tanna, Erromango, and Port Vila.
Do you think they pay attention to weather permitting?
I think weather permitting, yes, I'm sure they do. I'm sure David asked if they pay attention to that. Well, obviously the ICA people don't, but anyway, hopefully the Down Under people do pay attention to weather and try and make it pleasant for people. All right, that's about it. We've got Kuhela leaving on Friday, so that's another couple of days. We've got, well, at least another day to sort that one out. Cheers, everybody. Have a very good day. It looks as if it's going to be much as what we talked about before, on and off showers here. So even if you have a few bits of wind and showers, at least it will be warmer than it is here. So, John is reporting that the ARC fleet are in Port Resolution as we speak. So, boy, there's a lot of attention in Vanuatu this year, more so than there has been in the past, actually, which is good to see. It's a really interesting country. Okay, folks, see you tomorrow. Frequency's all yours. Cheers all.